Yeah. Yeah.
$30.
I'll let you know when they break.
Yeah.
Why do you?
Why did the door like? Why did it smoke? Yeah, exactly. Why is it smoking? Oh, shouldn't. It shouldn't.
You might help anyway, but.
What? Good day. Yeah.
She doesn't have a lot of hair, so she.
I don't know for a little boy.
No.
You can have a JD.
No, she's already on the. Is she muted? And she is muted. Mine's gonna pick up the speaker for this, so it's when you're gonna hear. Oh, I can. Oh, and if you don't want that change, use that change. Yep. Oh. If you don't want the computer to bing, you got the microphones on already, that's good for the computer will bing, you will hear that. Stop that. And I'm with that. But things seem to you. It doesn't work out.
Oh, I see.
Guys, expand it on bottom. Did you get the?
Yeah, yeah. So I got the one who looked at your stuff out that I talked to her some days ago.
Yeah.
She sent me one today.
You know, the camera's on.
Birthday.
Thanks. Yeah, no, she sent me an email with the same.
Yeah, it says social here, so it's all this on here.
Yeah, I love it.
Everybody's.
I'm paying for it now. That's my school. Where's that? You need it? I know that. It's like everybody. Yeah, that is true. That is true. No matter how loud you talk over.
We used to be a.
Did
Oh, view. View.
you make it or order it? Pizza place. The
And.
only place to order pure grease. Yeah. Yeah, that's what pure grease.
That was pretty.
Like it's very expensive, delicious. Yeah, I like the sauce.
So I did the area.
Yeah, I love it. I see what. Yeah. We have to have like 4 or 5.
So it's quick, right? In a way, we've been.
I don't know, but it saves a lot of money though. Not going home. It's ridiculous.
All our planning service, contract to, all, pick on the dots. It would be very expensive for us to have one. Yeah, we have. And we don't need it all. And one of the services they offer, they're already against like, when we're doing. They're already. So. It's not even to see it only. But early, alright. Is there? Sunshine. Yeah.
And the rain last night.
Yeah, he doesn't. Planners.
Oh, is it gonna be?
We'll log in.
Yeah, definitely branded by.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's funny from there, so that's what you do with other.
I think he's from the area where I said, he worked here, Jim saying, like, jobs, I guess, works. I heard he works for, and then. To go in the area, he's back, all that stuff. So he's little. Yeah, I was always sure when he's. It's pretty open minded.
It's very good. Yes, you got to leave it then. We're gonna talk, and then we have to.
Yeah.
Very happy to have it. And very.
So, if.
So I think that's like, thinking over, taking it seriously.
Is there, if you want to shut it down to the meetings there, just, you have to close and I get all the city people.
Like I went to the store there, one store, the farm, I go in and I could see people up there. And I'm like,
You can put it in the chat.
Number 11? No, the year for. Oh, yeah. But do you? Yeah.
But I have this, I'm starting moving to like different.
Okay. I have it covered up.
Yes, it is. It shows a very different.
Ready to go.
Thank you. Can everyone hear it now?
Yeah, so she on,
On it.
should be. Lights on, good.
Thank you, Mr. Burton. There's nothing further. I call for a motion to approve the agenda. No further. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I got this for Thursday. Mr. Please make sure that you got your teams turned off by phone.
I don't know, that was CBC News,
Okay,
Sunday now.
okay.
But it's good now?
Yeah, that one said, Sam Ferry from CBC News.
Okay, thank you. I just
I
wanted to make sure- I just wanted to make sure there wasn't any
No, I don't
feedback.
have it on, but
Perfect.
CBC sent the news.
Where they can hear?
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect. Good. Next item. First item is the special council meeting. Sorry, the committee of the whole meeting from March 13th, 2025. Have a motion to approve. The minutes are circulated.
Motion.
Counselor Standish, seconder. Deputy Mayor DeLong. Any discussion? No further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item. The special council meeting of March 24th, 2025. A motion to approve as circulated. Mr. Shepherd, seconder. Mr. Standish. Is there any discussion? No further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item. Special council meeting of May 19th, 2025. I have a motion to approve as circulated. Councilor Noble, seconded by Deputy Mayor Long. Yes, Councilor Hurd.
I can wait until after you.
Okay. Is there any discussion on this item? Yes, Councilor Hurd.
Hey, Mayor, I noticed on the minutes that it does say that they were held on Teams. I believe this meeting was a hybrid meeting where, yourself, the interim clerk, and the, assistant treasurer and deputy mayor DeLong may have been in the councillor chambers during that meeting. I'd just like the clerk to clarify that, please.
We did the minutes. Wasn't Teams, but I think we were really long. Some of this were really long.
It was a hybrid version of that.
That's how I'm sure.
So
That will need to be amended and reflected accordingly. We'll bring them to the next session. Yes, Councilor.
I just wanted to, through you, Mayor, I just wanted to, make sure, because the minutes didn't reflect, that some staff may not have been present during the closed session discussion. And I would just like to make sure that the notes, it may not be appropriate for me to ask this, but I'm just thinking about the topics of discussing something and maybe not all staff are there, just in the future, if that question comes up. Potentially, someone indicating a conflict of interest on staff member, and I just want to protect our staff to make sure there is a note that they were not present during part of that discussion of the closed session. If it's somewhere, please.
That will be included in the closed session notes.
Yeah. If the staff member left prior to the closed session commencing, we could indicate on the minutes that they may have left so there's no question as to if they were there or not there.
Hey, Julie, that's. Thank you, Councilor Herbert. That's. Moving on to the next item. The regular council meeting of May 20th, 2025. Have a motion to approve those as circulated. Motion from any member of council Spanish. Seconder, Councilor Noble. Any discussion?
Through you, Mayor, I did notice a couple of corrections that I would ask that be made on item 9C. The June is noted twice, and it should be deleted in the one section. So I can go to exactly how it says.
The adoption of the street feet guidance.
I'm able to put the wrong one, I just, no, you're right.
Second sentence.
9C, it says item table for the June committee of the whole June meeting. So I would suggest one of those June notes be removed. Item 9F. It states that the motion was carried. I made a point of order at that meeting. There was no motion to make a point of order. You as chair made a decision that it was a valid point of order. So I believe the minutes should reflect that the chair acknowledged and accepted the point of order. And delete motion carried. Item 9I. The first motion that is set out, it says moved by Councillor Allen, seconded by Councillor Shepherd to postpone this motion until clarification on if CRSE is responsible for all costs relating to the rural plan review. There's no statement saying if the motion was defeated or if it was removed. So I just like clarification from the clerk as to what happened with that motion. And how stated on the minutes.
Anything else, Councilor Herbert?
Yeah, I do have a couple more. Immediately under that, Mayor Hayward asked for a motion to extend the meeting for 30 minutes. It says moved by Noble. If you can please put Councillor Noble in there, please. And I will leave my next three comments at the discretion of the clerk under paragraph 10 and 11, where the words by are capitalized and they do not coincide with the font throughout the rest of the minutes. That is all I have.
Thank you, Councilor Herbert. I will move the table use for the next session with the corrections.
Yep.
Next item. The minutes of the special council meeting.
Order. What happened with the minutes that we were going to approve?
We will tabling those for the next session with those corrections. Given by myself.
Okay. Is that by directions to staff or do we need to pass the motion? I'm just asking for clarification. I don't know.
Direct staff.
Okay.
Make those corrections.
Okay, thank you. I didn't do that. So.
Please. Okay. Next item, May 29th special council meeting. I have a motion to approve these minutes as circulated. Councilor Herbert. Seconder. Shepherd. No further discussion on this. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next up on the agenda. Last time, if there's any conflict of interest to declare. Councilor Noble?
I'd like to declare a conflict of interest in section 11, earlier or statutes, principle. I filled out the paperwork and we filed it yesterday with the Fed's office.
Thank you, Councilor Noble. Are there any further conflicts of interest? There are no further conflicts of interest to declare. Move on to the next item on the agenda. Next item on the agenda is the letter of resignation from former Councilor Turner. Authorization that has not yet been read during session dated March 28th. Sunbury-York South Rural Community, Chairman Clerk Morrell and Mayor Hayward. I hereby tender my resignation as a councillor effective April 19th, 2025. With the benefit of reflection, I believe that the restructuring was rushed and we were not properly advised, provided with timely mentoring or accurate guidance from the outset. I put in my nomination with the hope of positively contributing to the development of our newly restructured community. The lack of transparency, communication internally and externally, and the resulting division has damaged our overall credibility and effectiveness. I made my concerns known throughout my tenure and tried to serve the interest of our community. Cumulatively, these issues and the impact of not adhering to them promptly have eroded my hope for meaningful change in my remaining term. This negatively impacts my ability to continue in this role. I hope the newly elected councillors can use their experience and fresh perspectives to benefit our community. I wish all existing members of the administration and all the council the best moving forward. Respectfully submitted, Giles Turner.
Mayor, you know, this will result in by-election this fall, or you will be next, so.
This requires wording to the full election of next year. Next item on the agenda, 7A, the NBSPCA contract.
Sorry, I had my hand up before you started, but I didn't see.
Councilor Hayward.
Is there a requirement that we need to declare the seat vacant and forward that information to Elections Canada? I understand that it will be ruled by election, but the seat is technically vacant. So is that an obligation we are to do underneath the act? I could look up the act to see if we need to do that, but I would like that question to be answered through you, just from the interim clerk, please.
I do not have the answer at this point in time. We can certainly find that out and report back to council. Councilor Allen?
Actually, the act does state that after council declares in council that, I'm paraphrasing here, that the seat is vacant, which we just did. The clerk has to file within 10 days to Elections to Brunswick. So we do have to officially let Elections to Brunswick know, seal the letter, or it can just be a sealed letter of faxing, but they do have to follow with that days.
Councilor?
Through you, Mayor, to clarification, the Councillor Allen, is that a resolution we have to pass? Because we have not passed a resolution.
No,
I don't recall that.
we will confirm the process where there is not another available by-election between now and the next election. We will confirm that process and I will respond to all council with the answer. Yes, Councilor.
Could I request that process be open and transparent and be put on the next agenda, please, on July 12th, 15th?
Sure.
Thank you.
Item A, the NBSPCA contract. As circulated. I have a motion to approve the NBSPCA contract. Any member of council, please. I'm motion to approve the contract. Councilor Standish. We have a second. Councilor Noble. Any discussion? Councilor Hartford.
Through you, Mayor, I just wanted to let the other members of council know that I did reach out to the interim clerk this week to ask if there were the amendments that I had suggested to be changed to the contract. The majority of them have been made to the contract. I would ask through you, the Mayor, to staff that in the future that perhaps we have a memo, note, or report to council when we are asked to make decisions on any type of agreement or any matter, that a simple memo or a report to be provided to members of council, so we have it documented as to what it was staff's recommendation or intention, or even just a background. The information would be helpful. I myself don't know quite what our budget was for this item, and that would have been helpful for me to know if we are within our budget for this contract.
Any further discussion on the MDSPCA contract? Deputy Mayor DeLong?
Quick question. I assume then the sale of dog tags is the responsibility of the SPCA. Thought I read here where all monies collected. That applies to sale of dog tags. I'm sure this council is quite explicit in the fact that you want to be in the business of selling dog tags.
Exactly.
The fines, states that the fine, free money from fines, et cetera, was rolled back to SYSRC, see the licenses.
It's
Yes, Mr. Harper.
Through you, Mayor, to, if I could may answer or provide some clarification to Deputy Mayor Long. The agreement does relate to our dog control bylaw, and our dog control bylaw does not set out the requirements for the sale of dog tags. So there would be no requirement for the sale of dog tags. It is only the requirement to have the rabies vaccination. That is my understanding of the document bylaw states.
Fine. That is why Councilor Turner at that time did not want to have the dog tags sold. He said as long as they had the rabies, that's enough expense for our citizens to have. That's most important.
Thank you for the clarification. Councilor Hardwick and Director Morel. Yes, Councilor Noel.
Have we already started paying into this contract, even though we haven't signed it?
Any of the services that are extended by this service can be billed accordingly as it is. So anything we use, we've maintained the coverage of their service.
Okay.
This is the last piece of the puzzle with the formality of setting in place.
So we've already paid our first quarter. No, we haven't. We don't know.
We have not been billed as yet. Councilor Finch?
Mayor, just in return to the topic of sale of dog tags, on page 2, under what agreement we're providing, it says we're providing the right to sale of municipal dog tags. So the fact that it's not in the bylaw, and it's not in the bylaws, is that just like a new that it's flying there just because it can be there, shouldn't be there?
As I understand it, it would still be the option or the right to do so. That should be, yes, Councilor Harvey.
If you read the first, or through Mayor, it says MVCC has agreed to provide services related to carrying out the functions and the enforcement of bylaw 2025-1 and New Brunswick Regulation 2022-36, optional regulation under the Local Governance Act as amended. So they're going to enforce accordance with our bylaw and the regulation. Our bylaw states there are no dog tags, so there will be no dog tags, my understanding. But it's moot to have that wording in there.
Our bylaw is in reference to the original one.
Correct, with the regulation.
Yep. But it would be a moot point.
I understand through you, Mayor, my understanding when the Leslie, I'm sorry, I don't remember her last name, but her first name was Leslie, so I'm not referring to the interclerk, I'm referring to the Leslie Rogers, thank you. She stated that this agreement was a standard agreement that they use across municipalities. She did make some suggested improvements, which were basically more improving the wording, but they have standard clauses in there that they keep. Our bylaw is what they will follow.
Understood? Yes, Councilor Spanish.
Mayor, yeah, my point was, I just think if you don't have that, clause in there or that line, I think it would have been not to avoid confusion, so they don't try selling dog pigs. And then, I don't know, that would be my concern, despite it not being in our bylaw. They may still say, oh, we have the right to, and then go ahead. That would be like, having that in there.
Thank you, Councilor Spanish. Is it the wish of council to have that item removed from the contract as it's written?
Even though if you put them. Motion to amend this contract to strike SYSSD 11. We could talk speculatively, I'll second that.
Okay, we are there.
Is there a point of order, because we already have a motion
Have a vote
on.
on the table.
Look to amend, which is the sub motion.
We can defeat the motion and represent it with that modification in place.
Yeah, that's
Deal
the
with one
motion.
motion at a time. Any further discussion on the document as it stands?
If what this point one is saying, rights sale of municipal dog units. Through the SPC, I don't have a problem with that. Right to the SPCA, or whoever documents to sell dog tags, we just fill the boots.
What it states is that Sunbury-York Circle Community provides the rights for the sale of municipal funds. But that doesn't align with our bylaw.
Oh, okay.
Councilor Shepherd,
It's a separate point though, is it?
certainly not.
I just wanted to say to the record, Mr. Mayor, that we budgeted $26,000 for animal control last year, and the contract is $21,000. Be a few thousand for incidental, so we should be under budget slightly for that, or about on budget.
Thank you, Councilor Shepherd. Councilor Noble?
So through the legislation, it says that you have to register your dog. So would registering it be the sale of dog tags?
For licensing?
Yeah. And I know it's not within our bylaw, but it's within the regulation that you must register your dog, or you're not supposed to be an owner of a dog. So again, it's not our bylaw, it's not council's wish to sell dog tags,
That
But
is provincial,
but that is the provincial regulation.
which is what we adopted.
Yeah.
That would make it. That's what the state. Is there another question associated with that? Okay. Councilor Spanish?
Mayor, through you, Councilor Noble, in that case, I'm not saying that's not the case. That would be the province, like, that would be their right, not our right. To give that, I think just for the sake of the what it would be for now, that's kind of what I was looking at. If we-
Actually, would they not be equal in that instance where we have adopted their bylaw? And used it as point of reference?
Mayor, my understanding with our bylaw, when we talk about it, is that we're going to keep it as minimal as we can. And anything that falls on the province, that's on them to enforce. And so maybe so, I'm not saying I'm right on this, I'm just saying, my perspective, I don't see the reason to have that line in there, even if you theoretically could have been the province. That's the difference.
Okay, Councilor Allen?
Should we simply remove that line and then revisit the bylaw, change some wording in change the bylaw, update it so to exclude dog tag registrations?
This, our bylaw is the equivalent of the provincial one. Basically references that. All we need to do is amend this contract within the SPCA by removing this item here. But it's need to confirm that we're able to do that.
Right, if we also use our bylaw to say we adopt the provincial regulations with the exception of dog tags. That will require, we would have to have some regular understand,
Multiple reasons and so on.
but at least the intent, the spirit is there. If we take the line out of the agreement, the dog tags, we can proceed with that and we're covered.
So you're suggesting leave it as it is and adjust our bylaw to cover that out?
Right, and make sure that SPCA is aware of our intent. With the bylaw will be adjusted in the next couple of meetings.
Okay, now, Trevor?
Mr. Mayor, I wonder if tabling this to get clarifications, because I think it's a reasonable question by Councilor Standish, and so it makes it hard to even vote on this. But I'm not really sure even which way we should be going. Is it something we can table, get those answers when we come back?
This can be tabled for another session to get clarity around item.
Can I make that motion, or do we have to defeat it first? And then we just, before we vote on it, I put a motion to table.
We can table it.
So, Mr. Mayor, could I make a motion that we table this to the next council meeting on July 15th? So we get clarification on how we proceed slash.
Plus, that's certainly. Plus, I have a seconder. Any further discussion around tabling that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Next step. Next item on the agenda, the town of Ormucto recreation agreement. It's regulated. I have a motion to approve. I have a motion to approve the town of Ormucto recreation agreement. Councilor Noble, do you have a seconder? Deputy Mayor DeLong? Any discussion or questions? Councilor Hartwick?
Through you, Mayor, a paragraph under section 1, page 1, general. It states that this agreement shall be for a term of 1 year. It shall be reviewed and renewed thereafter for consecutive terms upon the same terms and conditions unless notice of intention to amend or terminate this agreement is given by either party prior to the 30th of June 2025. I believe that should just state prior to the 30th of June annually, because otherwise, if we renew this next year, we would have passed our deadline by a year to talk about it. If we wanted to amend it, we would lose our chance to amend it because that time frame has ended for next
This is
year.
for the next year.
But it also says it's going to be renewed consecutively, annually, unless we give notice of our intention to terminate it or amend it. And that notice has to be given by June 30th of June 2025. So if it's going to be renewed annually, there should not be a year in there. It should just be a calendar day and month.
That is an excellent point, Councilor Hartwick. Okay, but this contract ends December 31st, 2025. So this will be from January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2025. With any opportunity to amend that ending at the end of this month.
For you, Mayor, I shall clarify again. It says it shall be reviewed and renewed thereafter for consecutive terms. It is saying that is going to be reviewed and renewed annually when it states for consecutive terms. Yes, this one does end at the end of this year, right? But the renewal for consecutive terms. You cannot have a specific calendar year, otherwise it doesn't make sense. We have lost our opportunity to negotiate or to get out of it. As well as on page 2, where it says financial terms, under renewal, the partner in town shall negotiate a renewal prior to June 30th, 2025. I understand for this current contract year, yes, but for future renewals, there should be, I will repeat, no calendar year. It should just be June 30th. If we, perhaps through you, Mayor, request staff clarify with the town of Oromocto the intent of those terms.
We can certainly follow up with them before making any final decision on that. Counselor Noel?
So this is, when it says partner with any person who lives within the boundaries of the rural community, so that's including charge, settlement, case, or Beaver Dam now.
For the Ormonte?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Trevor?
Is this something we should make a motion to table then if we're waiting for clarification from staff?
Just to get clarification on that, Mr. Mayor of the year.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to put a motion forward to table this for the meeting on July 15th, so we get clarification. Question about June 30th, 2025 deadline.
Got a seconder? Mr. Noel, all those in favor for tabling this for the next session? Signify by saying aye. Opposed? We go for the next session, sit up. One, just for the interest of council, that because of the date lines associated with that, that it may come to a special meeting to be done prior to June 30th as well. Once we get the clarification on that for certain. Next item. Bylaw. Bylaw number 125, third reading by title only, procedural bylaw for council. Have a motion to approve bylaw number 1-25, the bylaw to amend bylaw number 1, the procedural bylaw, the council of Sunbury-York South Rural Community. Councilor Hartwick.
Move to.
So moved. Do we have a seconder? Councilor Shepherd. Any discussion? Any debate or discussion on this item? There's no debate or discussion on this item. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next item. Item B. Bylaw number 2025-03, first reading in its entirety for the code of conduct. Can I have a motion to approve as circulated? Councilor Standish. So it's seconded by Councilor Allen. I'll now read this in its entirety. Bylaw number 2025-03, a bylaw respecting code of conduct for the Council of Sunbury-York South Rural Community. Whereas the Council of the Sunbury-York South Rural Community, in accordance with paragraph 10, section 2B of the Local Governance Act and regulations adopted thereunder, wishes to establish a code of conduct for the members of council. Be it enacted by the Council of Sunbury-York South Rural Community as follows. 1. Title. This bylaw shall be cited as the Code of Conduct bylaw. 2. Definitions. Act means the Local Governance Act and regulations made thereunder as amended. Administration means the employees of Sunbury-York South Rural Community. Clerk means the person appointed to the position of clerk by council under the provisions of the Act. Council means the mayor and councilors duly elected of Sunbury-York South Rural Community. Councillor means a person elected to the office of the council other than the mayor. Deputy mayor is a member of council who is appointed pursuant to the act to act as mayor in the absence of or incapacity of the mayor. Mayor means a person elected to the office or a person who exercises the powers and performs the duties associated with the position on an interim basis. Member or member of council means any person duly elected to council. SYSRC means Sunbury-York South Rural Community. 2, values. Members must perform their function of office with honesty, integrity, objectivity, impartiality, and accountability. A, honesty. Members have a duty to act truthfully, respectfully, politely, and in good faith to serve the welfare and interest of SYSRC as a whole. Members must be open to having frank, courteous, and respectful communications with other members, administration, and public. B, integrity. Members have a duty to perform their functions of office with integrity, accountability, and transparency. Members must always conduct themselves in a professional manner. C, objectivity. Members have a duty to communicate appropriate information openly to the public about decision-making processes and issues being considered. Members must encourage public participation where appropriate, communicate clearly, and allow for public scrutiny and feedback. D, impartiality. Members have a duty to serve and be seen to serve the welfare of the interest of SYSRC in a conscientious and diligent manner. Members must carry out their duties in accordance with all applicable legislation, bylaws, and policies pertaining to their position as an elected official. Accountability. Members have a duty to always conduct themselves in a professional and accountable manner. Members must accept responsibility for their individual actions and decisions and be respectful of decisions made by council. 4, conflict of interest. A, subject to subsection B, each member must be familiar with the code conflict of interest provisions under Part 8 of the Act and shall comply with those provisions. B, on assuming office, each member shall file a statement with the clerk disclosing any actual or potential conflict of interest of which the member has knowledge. And the clerk shall then file the statement with Local Governance Commission established under the Local Governance Commission Act. C, if a conflict of interest arises while a member is in office, the member shall immediately file a statement disclosing the conflict of interest with the clerk. And the clerk shall then file the statement with the Local Governance Commission established under the Local Governance Commission Act. D, a statement disclosing a conflict of interest shall be made in the form prescribed by regulation. E, any member who has a conflict of interest with respect to any matter in which council or a committee is concerned, and the member is present at a council meeting or a meeting of a committee or any other meeting at which business of the council or a committee is conducted, at which the matter is subject of consideration, the member shall, 1, as soon as the matter is introduced, disclose the member has a conflict of interest in the matter. 2, immediately withdraw from the meeting room while the matter is under consideration or put to a vote. And item 3, as soon afterwards as the circumstances permit, file a statement disclosing the conflict of interest with the clerk, and the clerk shall then file a statement with the Local Governance Commission established under the Local Governance Commission Act. 5, behavior. A, members have a duty to treat fellow members of council, administration, and the public with respect, concern, and courtesy. B, members must not engage in discrimination, bullying, harassment, or use of derogatory language towards others in their roles. C, members shall respect fellow members of council, administration, and the public present during the meetings to provide an environment for transparent and healthy debate on matters requiring decision-making. D, members must not use indecent, abusive, or insulting words or expressions toward any other members of council, administration, and the public. E, Members must not use or attempt to use their authority or position to influence administration with the intent of interfering with their duties. F, members not maliciously or falsely injure the professional or ethical reputation of the prospects and practice of administration. G, in addition to A through F, a member, 1, must not use their position for any purpose other than the exercise of their official duties. And 2, must be familiar with the relevant federal and provincial laws and SYSRC bylaws, policies and procedures, including, without limitation, the Right to Information and Protection of Privacy Act. 6, use of property, resources, and services. A, members must not request or permit the use of property, resources, and services for personal convenience or profit, except where such privileges are granted to the public. Members must ensure that the business of SYSRC is conducted with efficiency while avoiding waste, abuse, and extravagance when providing or using rural community resources. C, in addition to A and B, a member must not use SYSRC property, resources, and services that is 1, unreasonable or for purposes other than those intended. 2, for their personal gain. Or 3, in support of a candidate in a local government election. 7, public communication. Members recognize the mayor, or if unavailable, the deputy mayor speaks on behalf of council to the media. B, members have a duty to accurately communicate the decisions of council, even if they disagree with council's decision, to foster respect in the decision-making process. C, members recognize they are always representatives of SYSRC, including when engaging in social media activities, and must identify when the views they express are their own and not those of council. D, in addition to A through C, a member must not A, is false or misleading with respect to a material fact or omits to state a material fact, the omission of which makes that statement false or misleading. Or B, is defamatory to a member of council, an officer or employee of SYSRC, or a member of the public. And 2, discloses confidential information of which the member becomes aware in the exercise of the member's duties concerning A, the property, personnel, or legal affairs of SYSRC, or B, a member of council, an officer or employee of local government, or a member of the public. 8, applicable laws. A, each member shall comply with the applicable federal or provincial law or SYSRC bylaws, policies, and procedures in the performance of their duties. 9, filing the complaint. A, any person may submit a complaint that a member has violated this bylaw and must include the following: 1, their full name, address, telephone number, and email address. 2, the name of the member who they believe violated this bylaw. 3, relevant section of the bylaw they believe was violated. 4, specific facts that support the contravention, including but not limited to date, time, location, details of individuals present and or involved, any witnesses, and contact information of any other individual. B, all complaints must be in writing and filed by email, regular mail, or delivered to the clerk's office, SYSRC, within 2 years from the date of the member alleged to have contravened the bylaw. C, the clerk will promptly forward the complaint to the mayor for initial review. If the complaint is against the mayor, the clerk will forward the complaint to the deputy mayor for initial review. If the deputy mayor is unable to consider the complaint, the clerk shall request council to select another member by a majority vote to a duly convened council meeting. 10, initial review by the mayor. A, upon receiving a written complaint from the clerk, the mayor or other member as set out above shall 1, notify the member who is the subject of the complaint of the allegations made therein, and 2, review the written complaint as presented. B, if after conducting their initial review, the mayor concludes that the complaint as presented was filed after the required 2-year time period, the mayor shall immediately dismiss the complaint. C, if the mayor dismisses the complaint, a decision in writing shall be provided to both the complainant and member and set out the reasons why the complaint will be dismissed. If the complaint is not dismissed, the mayor shall instruct the clerk to bring this matter before council at the next scheduled council meeting during a closed session. E, either decision under C or D must be completed within 5 business days of receiving the complaint. 11, initial review by council. A, the initial review by council shall be conducted during a closed session, and the member that the complaint is filed against, nor for the complainant, shall not be present unless invited to be present by the majority vote of council. B, if after conducting their initial review, council concludes the complaint as presented, 1, is on its face devoid of merit, 2, references an action or conduct that even if committed is clearly not a matter covered by this bylaw, and or 3, is frivolous, vexatious, or made for an improper purpose. Council shall summarily dismiss this complaint. C, if council dismisses the complaint, the decision shall be provided in writing within 5 business days to both the complainant and the members, setting out the reasons why the complaint was dismissed. D, if the complaint is not dismissed, council must decide whether it will investigate or refer the matter to an external consultant with relevant experience to investigate and provide a report and recommendation to council. 12, investigation by a consultant. A, an external consultant appointed by council under section 3 must, 1, meet with or otherwise communicate with the complainants to obtain whatever additional information, submissions, and documentation they wish to provide. 2, meet with or otherwise communicate with the member who is subject of the complaint to obtain whatever additional information, submission, and documentation they wish to provide. 3, meet with or otherwise communicate with any other individual who might have knowledge of the complaint matter and consider any other material deemed relevant. And 4, explore with the complainant and member if the complaint can be resolved in a satisfactory manner. E, the consultant shall produce a report detailing their findings, conclusions, recommendations to council within 2 months of being retained. 13, investigation by council. A, if council conducts the investigation, the clerk will schedule a closed meeting where the complainant and member may be invited to attend and answer questions or clarifications from council. Neither the member nor the complainant shall be present unless invited to be present by a majority vote of council. B, in the closed session, under this section, both the member and the complainant will have a right to be represented by legal counsel. C, council shall determine a decision if the member has or has not violated the bylaw and provide the reasons to support such a determination in a report within 2 months from the first meeting held in section A above. 14, report. A report produced under paragraph 4 and 5 must be prepared in a manner to address applicable privacy concerns and confidential information, including having due regard for the right to information and protection of Privacy Act and matters that may have been before council in a closed meeting under 68 of the Local Governments Act. B, the report set out in paragraph 4 and 5 shall be shared publicly at a council meeting. Part 3, council decision. 15, decision. A report received under 12 or 13 must be brought before council at its next meeting. B, subject to C and D below, council must, 1, review the report, and 2, when review is finished, hold a vote. To determine whether the member breached the code of conduct, and B, to pass a resolution respecting the appropriate corrective action, if any. C, if the report under A deals with any of the matters referred to in subsection 68(1) of the Act, the member, complainant, and public may be excluded from the meeting for the duration of the review under section B1. D, The affected member shall not participate in any vote held under section B2. Part 4, corrective action. 16, action. A, subject to B, and in the case of a breach of a provision of the code of conduct, council may impose any corrective actions it deems appropriate, including but not limited to reprimanding the member, 1. 2, requiring the member to issue a letter of apology. 3, requiring the member attend training or counseling as directed by council. 4, suspending the member from exercising the powers or performing the duties conferred under section 48 of the Act. 5, reducing or suspending the member's compensation for the duration of any suspension imposed under paragraph 4. And 6, reducing or suspending the member's privileges, including travel or the use of resources, services, or property of the local government. B, a corrective action under paragraph A4 or A5 shall not be imposed for a period longer than the maximum period prescribed for suspension of them under the Local Governance Act. 5, repeal and effective date. 17, repeal A, bylaw number 3 enacted on the 14th day of December 2022 is hereby repealed. 18, effective date, this law shall come into force and effect upon receiving third reading and being signed. You made the motion, correct? Was there any debate or discussion on this motion? Councillor Allen.
Paragraph 14A references, apologies, I read through this and didn't this before. 14A is just one of them, supposed to be correct. Council enclosed meeting under 68 of the Local Governance Act. Should it be under paragraph 68 of the Local Governance Act? Paragraph or section? I believe paragraph.
Councillor Harrell. It is section. Read under section 68.
We can just correct that wording, Mr. Mayor, for.
I have no objections to that. Is that the wish of the council? And amend that word to reflect section 68. Councillor Standish.
Mayor, through you to the political parties, back in actually that same paragraph, it references paragraphs 4 and 5. Can you just confirm what, are we talking about the conflict of interest and behaviors? Section, like what is that?
The report shall set out in paragraph 4 and 5. The report set out in paragraph 4 and 5 shall be shared publicly at a council meeting.
Yeah, so that's paragraph 4 and 5. What? The reverse paragraph.
I will defer to our governance team for some clarity on that. Councillor Noble. Councillor Hartwick.
I believe that is a typographical error, and it should reference a different section of the bylaw. I would like to review the bylaw again myself to determine what section we would refer to, which we can correct on third reading.
Okay, we can still move forward with that as it is. Make necessary amendments as we're progressing along here. Councillor Noble.
I'd like to have a statement of commitment from councillors once they get affirmation or their oath, that they have to read this, they have to sign it. That way you can't say, I haven't read it, I don't know what the code of conduct states.
You wish to add a section to that with that statement?
Yeah. So they have to sign it. Every councillor when they join.
For me, really worship to Council Miller. I believe that when he was in the office today, that was one of the suggestions he had to, and he's prepared for it, which we can do before the third reading.
So that is issued to go back to the governance committee for the next reading. Councillor Noble. Deputy Mayor DeLong.
Somebody been educated, Part 4, section 16. There's a list of, corrective actions which appear in the Local Governance Act. What I didn't read in the Local Governance Act was corrective action it deems appropriate, including but not limited to. The words "but not limited to" in my reading of the Local Governance Act did not appear, so I just like to be educated as to that wording.
And we'll defer that to Councilor Noble as well.
It is within the local governance act.
It is?
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
There's a separate regulation for the code of conduct itself.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilor Noble. Councilor Shepherd?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to clarify when it says that the complainant can only be there if they're invited, but then it also says that they have the right to be represented by legal counsel. And so is it possible that the complainant wouldn't be invited, but regardless, their legal counsel would still be at the meeting, even if they were not invited?
That is how, that's my interpretation of that. Is that the intention of the committee when they put this document together?
I will defer that to Councilor Hartwick, both sides.
What's Councilor Herbert?
My understanding is that the complainant would have to request to be present, either represented by legal counsel or by themselves. And it would be up to counsel who was reviewing the matter to agree or not agree to that situation. That is my interpretation of the
That's
reading.
under 11 or 13. 13 B, you know, I was wondering about.
In the closed session under this section, both the member and the complainant will have a right to be represented by legal counsel. Councilor Hart.
You referred through you, Mayor, paragraph 13A. I believe it's also in further 2, that it states that neither the member nor the complainant shall be present unless invited to be presented by a majority vote of council. So majority vote of council would need to allow the complainant, and the complainant could be represented by their legal counsel, as stated out in paragraph 13B.
Does that give you the clarity you were looking for, Councilor Shepherd?
No.
Okay.
So I mean, I didn't say complainant, my apologies. I meant the member who's being accused. So the counselor or the mayor or deputy mayor who's being accused. Yes, I see that in A, it said they can't be present unless invited. But then in B, it says that they have the right to be represented by legal counsel. It almost sounds like regardless of legal counsel can be there. So I just want to clarify that yes, complainant must be invited. Or sorry, the member must be invited. But does that also include their lawyer? Like, can their lawyer be there regardless, even if the member is not there?
Again, I will refer back to the committee that put the document together. Councilor Hardwick.
Through you, Mayor, the intent of it that the member or the complainant and their legal counsel would only be there if invited. If you would like clarity of that added to paragraph B, which would include that the legal counsel, they can be represented, but only when invited. We would not normally, you don't normally allow someone to speak unless they're invited or if they have approval, right? That's just how it works.
I think, thank you, Councilor Hardwick. I believe it's Councilor Shepherd's opinion that the way it reads as it stands right now, either the complainant or their legal counsel can be present. Is that correct, Councilor Shepherd?
Yeah, and maybe I'm just not clear in my reading, but to me, it makes it sound like the lawyers can go regardless, whether they're invited to go. So I just, maybe you can
We should add some clarity around that. Councilor Hardwick.
So Mayor, through you, if I could just kind of, maybe this will help clarify through to Councilor Shepherd. You start, it tells a story.
Yeah.
So A is the first part, right? If you're invited, you're invited. And if you're invited, you go to B. It's gonna be through closed session and you can be represented by your legal counsel. Then you go to C. Okay, We make a decision, the decision has to be within 2 months. So it's a step process.
Is that a clarity, Councillor Shepherd?
Yeah, if that's the way most people would read that, and that's the way the law works, and I'm fine with that. I just find it that's confusing. Councillor Allen?
What if we simply moved, indented section, 13B and change it to 13A1? That way it's definitely subsequent to part A.
That seems to be,
It's a simple fix. Simple resolution. You can also do the section with C, the same with C, and make that a 2. And then do that, where it's subsequent to what happened in A.
very good. Thank you. Councillor Hardwick?
I just wanted, I believe there may be also another under paragraph 12A, where it says an external consultant appointed by council under section 3. I believe that that section needs to be clarified as well, and we can clarify that for the third meeting as to what the proper reference should be for that. And if I could, Mayor, through you, if I could expand as well, under, on page 3, under behavior, item 5F, it should say members must not maliciously or falsely injure. Right now it says members not, so the word must isn't in there.
Catch Councillor Hardwick. Councillor Spanish?
Oh, one quick little clarification note, under 12, the paragraph 4, I jumped on alpha echo, probably was just a matter of indentations, which probably go off the 1, 2, 3, 4, Bravo.
Yeah.
But I did have one kind of, and a big picture question, would you, with the governance committee chair, whoever, could you give us like a quick overview of like the big things you changed in this relative to the one we're repealing? What were like the major things you found? Give us some change.
I can hear it.
Not even specifically, what I can do.
The regulation has changed since we became a local government. So if you read the bylaws, it stands right now, there's really no process to go through and it doesn't match the regulation. So here it clearly states everything we're supposed to do, how a complaint will come forward. And because right now we're deciding if it's a valid complaint or not, did they actually follow what our bylaw states? And it wasn't, we had trouble interpreting that, right? So this lays it all out. It gives a lot more corrective actions than our previous bylaw did. And it said when we will go, we can choose to do it ourselves to investigate, but we can also go and get an external investigator. And it leads the process through that. So there's a lot more of a procedure in place to guide us.
Thank you, Councillor Hardwick.
And if I would just expand on that, our bylaw was flawed. It did not comply with the regulation, so now this bylaw will help us, will make us in compliance with the regulation. That was brought up to us through a couple of different means, and so this is to correct that error.
Was that primarily then in, like the changes are primarily in the procedure for complaints, or was like, kind of bigger?
The whole thing has changed.
Is there any other discussion or debate on bylaw number 2025-3? There's no further discussion or debate. I will call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Then for the next reading. Next item. I'm going to take on the agenda, second reading by title only of bylaw number 2025-3. Second reading by title only for the code of conduct. Bylaw number, I have a motion to approve bylaw number 2025-3, a bylaw respecting Code of Conduct for the Council of Sunbury-York South Rural Community. Councillor Hartwick, seconder. Councillor Noble. There's no further discussion. We'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. That concludes the second reading. Item D. Bylaw number 2025-04. A bylaw respecting the remuneration of council for Sunbury-York South Rural Community. Correct title. Correct remuneration. I have a motion to approve this bylaw. Councilor Standish. Seconded by Councilor Noble. Any discussion?
Should we read it in its entirety?
No.
We have to.
I'm stated by title only.
Above it.
D, section 8I, because I have a comment, but section 8I, D, section D.
Oh, my apologies. Correct.
I don't think about it in the order to go in,
I will now read this in its entirety. Bylaw number 2025-04, a bylaw respecting the remuneration of council for Sunbury-York South Rural Community. Whereas the Council of Sunbury-York South Rural Community, in accordance with paragraph 10, subsection 2, paragraph A, the Local Governance Act and regulations adopted thereunder, wishes to establish the remuneration of council members be it enacted by the Council of the Sunbury-York South Rural Community as follows. Titles. This bylaw shall be cited as the remuneration of council bylaw. 2. Definitions. Act means the Local Governance Act and regulations made thereunder, as amended. Council means the mayor and councillors duly elected of Sunbury-York South Rural Community. Councillor means a person elected to the office of council other than the mayor. Deputy mayor means member of council who is appointed pursuant to the act to act as mayor in the absence of or incapacity of the mayor. Mayor means a person elected to the office or a person who exercises the powers and performs the duties associated with the position on an interim basis. Member or member of council means any person duly elected to council. SYSRC means Sunbury-York South Rural Community. Treasurer is a person appointed to the position of treasurer by council under the provisions of the act. Remuneration. 3A, remuneration, the mayor shall be paid an annual salary of $22,111.96. B, the deputy mayor shall be paid an annual salary of $10,646.48. C, each councillor who does not hold the position of deputy mayor shall be paid an annual salary of $8,517.08. D, the amount of remuneration for council shall increase annually effective January 1st by the cost of living adjustment, COLA, amount determined by the province of New Brunswick. E, each member of council shall receive equal installments of the amounts set out above on the payment dates established by the treasurer. 4, repeal and effective date. A, bylaw number 3 enacted on the 14th day of December 2022, and bylaw number 3-2023 enacted on the 21st day of November 2023 are hereby repealed. B, this bylaw shall come into force and upon receiving third reading and being signed. Is there any discussion or debate on this item? Counselor Elm?
I have four things, Mr. Mayor. The remuneration wants to be discussed, that's one. Number two, is actually the amount of remuneration for council may increase or decrease. I like those wordings changed, so to take out shall, add may increase or decrease. And at the end of that, add by a resolution of council. So that it's not an automatic thing that has happened, because last year council wanted to, reduce or stay their salaries and were unable to because of this bylaw. So we can change that so that council has that right and has to do it by a vote. That way we can deal with it every year. The last thing is that on this, I really request a recorded, vote when we vote on this.
Any objections to Counselor Elm's suggestions? Counselor Hardwick?
Yes, Mayor Hughes. I do not agree with Councillor Allen's suggested revisions. I know myself, a salary of $8,517.08 currently is very minimal for the amount of time, effort, and professional work I have put into this role for the past 2 months. I think the amount, if you add up the total salary for the mayor, the deputy mayor, and the members of council, it is close to the salary of one employee. And I'm doing a lot of work, and I would like to be compensated for my effort and time put into that work appropriately. I honestly believe the amount does not represent the amount of time and effort I have put into this role. And I do not agree with that amendment.
Thank you, Counselor Hardwick.
So I do agree with Councilor Hartlick, especially with the amount of time and effort we put into it. I know how much that's been. I still think may is an important word instead of shall, because it does give council the ability. Like I said, last year, council wanted to maintain their salary and they were not able to because of this bylaw. So I think may gives us the opportunity, if we choose to. I just don't like to be bound. I don't like my hands being bound where I have to increase the amounts every year because of the bylaw. The ability to do so, yes, but the ability or lower if we choose for some reason. So I think if we have that worded, it does give us the ability to make that choice.
Counselor Hardwick?
Actually, Councillor Shepherd.
Did an opportunity to respond to this response?
Just for some clarity as to other members of council and the public here, a 2% cost of living increase would amount to $170 for the councillor position annually. To me, that is very minimal, and I worked hard for it. So that's my point.
You certainly do. Counselor Shepherd?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I was wondering, is there an option to have different pay for different councilors so that some of us could maybe say yes or no, or is it has to be the same for all 7 or 6 or who's not a deputy mayor? You know if that's an option?
I do not know the answer to that, but I'm having continuity by position with your state.
Yeah, like, so as in, because obviously the mayor, the deputy mayor, then there's 6 councilors, whatever. Is it a set that it has to be the councillor each makes this, or can there actually be different options?
I haven't looked at that. I do not know the answer.
I'd appreciate that answer.
Counselor Hardwick, do you have any insight into that when you were reviewing this?
My experience is it's always been a mayor's salary, a deputy mayor's salary, and council salary has been status quo across the board. No matter how much work or time or effort into it, every member of council, every councillor is paid that minimum amount of $88,517.06. It would be very hard. I don't know if the act allows it, but I would say it would be very hard to distinguish between the different levels as to your time and effort that you put into it. Like,
If it is your wish, you could have staff look up and determine if that's even a possibility.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Mayor, if before our third reading of this, we can have it into, because that does make my vote difficult, because I'm okay with not having a raise, but I also don't want to then be taking someone else's money from them essentially, right? You know, that puts me in a tight spot there.
So if it is the wish of the council, we can direct staff to find out the end, if that's even a possibility.
Yeah.
And leave that with staff to take away and find out the answer if that's even possible. Councillor Allen.
But again, I just want to reiterate, changing the word shall to may does not mean we can't. It just means that we have to choose to do so.
Are you referring to, D, clause D?
Yes.
That's the clause you're talking?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
So you just want us to change shall to may.
Shall to may, and then of course you have to add by a resolution of council at the end of it to make it work.
Yes, Councillor.
Mayor, through you to Councillor Allen, can you please clarify, because I did hear you say the words or decrease.
We can, that gives us an option if we want to be able to do that for any reason. There may be a reason we would want to decrease. Perhaps there's a massive, I mean, it doesn't happen very often, but a deflationary period, financial deflationary period. Inflation is usually the normal, but historically it has happened twice. So if we had a deflationary period where, you know, dollar value increased, we may want to reduce at that point. I don't want to be limited by. It's unlikely, but just planning for options.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Harwood.
Through you to Councillor Allen, are you referring to a recession?
No, not a recession, a deflationary value. So, for example, while interests were actually a negative interest rate, we had a slight deflationary value. I don't know if you're familiar with that, when that happened.
Yeah.
There was interest rates, the federal interest rate was set at a negative amount. So meaning people were at a federal level, they were borrowing money and being paid to take the money. You know, borrowing. There was a slight deflationary value of the Canadian dollar at that point in time. So the opposite of inflation, where the cost of things go up, there was a very short period of deflation. Very short period. When we were negatives, I honestly don't recall exactly the year, but it was during my terms on a board at a financial institution. So we did have that negative interest rate set by the federal bank, and there was a deflationary period. That deflation is the opposite of inflation. It's where your dollar actually becomes worth a little bit more. I think also that coincided with a huge decrease in the value of our dollar against the American dollar at the same time. I could be wrong on that. I think that was the case. So should something like that happen, I think last time that happened was back in after the Great Depression in the 20s. So I mean, it's only happened a couple times in history, but it could happen if we have the wording in place, then we at least can deal with it. I mean, and again, it's by resolution of council. It's not we must do that. It's just having the option. I don't like having my hands tied to, you have to do this.
Councillor Stage.
Mayor, through you to council. If you're going to go that route, selecting the May, I would suggest that we word it instead of saying increase or decrease, we simplify and we say may adjust, or we may, something like that. And then we could throw in there the caveat that it will not exceed the cost of living adjustment or something. That way, we can adjust it whenever we want, we can never increase it greater than the cost of living. I think that would keep it a little. We should probably have that, we should probably have that. Shall on here.
Councillor Shepherd.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I do like that flexibility idea, because yeah, once it's in the bylaw, it takes 3 readings to change it over multiple readings. Whereas if it's just laid out as by vote of council, that's something we do in 1 meeting, we are going to make some adjustments. And so I like that flexibility based on what Councillor Allen said.
So these, yes, Councillor Harris.
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Allen and Councillor Shepherd. I'll be flexible, and I could support the word will, but I could not support, may, but I could not support wording saying a decrease, because it's very minimal right now for the time, effort that I am putting into this role.
In that case, I would change my suggestion to, Councilor Standish's suggestion on the wording.
Okay.
So that we was modified or may adjust, yes, may adjust.
And just so that I'm, on the record, I agree with Councilor Hartwick on this issue.
So Councilor Noel, is that satisfactory to the committee?
We will bring back to the committee to review.
Councilor Hartwick?
Through you, Mayor, I would like clarification exactly how that wording would be in paragraph D. If Councillor Standish could please read it out entirely, how he would like it read.
Give me a second.
We're counting out.
May
Yeah.
I have, so the amount of remuneration for council may adjust annually effective January 1st by the cost of living adjustment amount determined by the province of New Brunswick by a resolution of council.
Is that satisfactory to council?
Mayor, I would suggest instead of saying by the cost of living adjustment, saying something to the effect of not greater than. If you're saying by, then you're tying yourself to, like, that would be the only way you would know, and there goes your flexibility.
No one has any objection to that?
I'm making less than minimum wage.
Yes, Councilor Hartwick.
Through you, Mayor, paragraph 2, under 2, the definition of deputy mayor, the word, it should say means a member, it just says means a member of the council, so there is a typo there. I noticed when you were reading the description. And
Yes.
through you, Mayor, I just wanted to thank you for reading these bylaws, because I know they are quite lengthy, and you will be coming up to some other lengthy bylaws, and saying you're doing a great job, and it's a lot of reading. A lot of clarification.
Do some water.
Councilor Standish.
Mayor, two quick things. I noticed that under 4 repeal, we're repealing bylaw 3, but we also repealing that in the other bylaw we read tonight. I don't know if we want to repeal and vote, and then he's going to just check back. Under the one we read earlier, bylaw number 3. So I don't.
So one of them was wrong.
Yeah, okay, just as long as we're doing one.
Excellent, thanks, Councilor Standish.
And the one actual question I had, under paragraph 3, line echo, is that is what's going to give the staff the freedom to, I guess, once a month, the flexibility? Yeah. No, I'm assuming that's what that one, they will, anything else? Mr. Schiffer?
Mr. Listen today, we thought we'd add a little more.
The only question on us, again, is that to provide the flexibility we need to indicate the monthly section?
Don't have to, but I did bring up the point that maybe if council wants to pay the whole.
Councilor Hartwick.
Sorry, Mayor, through you, I didn't hear that last statement you said.
Oh,
Feel free.
when Mr. Bogan was in the second, he thought maybe we should add monthly. Like be equal
Yeah.
limits monthly, because just to make it clarified, because he said some councilors like me that, well, I would my whole enumeration all at once.
Okay, through you, Mayor, I would say that it clearly states on the payment dates established by the treasurer. So the treasurer has the full authority to determine what payment dates that they feel is appropriate for a rural community and for their work schedule. So am cautious to including the word monthly, because then we may be back to, you know, a council in the future, may be back in 2 years if there's a different person who's takes care of that role and may not want to do it monthly and may prefer to do it bi-weekly or bi-monthly or,
As it reads today, it provides the flexibility to the treasurer.
correct. So it just eliminates having to revisit this for that reason.
Thank you, Councilor Gerber. Any other discussion? We have notes of all of the amendments required. We will be calling for a vote. So, on item 8B, bylaw number 2025-04, bylaw respecting the remuneration of council for Sunbury-York South Rural Community. I'll ask the assistant clerk to call for the vote.
Councillor Noble.
Point of order, you had granted a recording vote.
Yeah.
She's recording the vote.
Oh, my apologies, my apologies.
Yes. Councillor Shepherd.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wong.
Yes.
Councillor Standish.
Yes.
Councillor Hardwick.
Yes,
Councillor Allen.
Yes. Yes. Motion carried. Now, item E. Second reading by title only. A bylaw number 2025-04, a bylaw respecting the remuneration of council for Sunbury-York South Rural Community. Ask a member of council to make that motion. Councilor Hardwick, seconded by Councilor Shepherd. We will call for another vote.
Councillor Noble.
Yes.
Councillor Shepherd.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wong.
Yeah.
Councillor Standish.
Yes.
Councillor Hardwick.
yes,
Councillor Allen.
Yes.
Mayor Haber.
Yes. Motion carried. On to the next item, item F. Bylaw number 2025. First reading in its entirety, proceedings of council. Bylaw number 2025-05, bylaw respecting the proceedings of council of Sunbury-York South Rural Community. Whereas the council of Sunbury-York South Rural Community in accordance with paragraph.
Do we need to have a motion?
Yes, we do. My apologies. Thank you, Councilor Standish. You can pop me out. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll motion.
Councilor Standish, and a seconder, Deputy Mayor Delon. Thank you.
And actually, I don't know, I want to ask if this would be out of order, but would we be able to have a really brief overview of, again, the major changes before we do it, or would that just so we can know what we're looking for, or is that in the order?
Councilor.
Mayor, through you, every member of council was provided with a copy of these bylaws by email. I would have expected that everyone would have read the new bylaws and compared it to the existing bylaws. So, it's my position that you read the bylaw, the new bylaw is presented, and if any member of council has any questions afterwards, we can answer those questions.
Thank you, Councilor. I would further step, we still have to go through the procedure of reading it in its entirety for the first reading.
So, cool. Like, there's no, okay.
I suspect you're looking for a high level.
Just because, with all due respect, to Councilor Harwig, and she's right, we all have gone through it, but the expertise and time they put into it is very useful for us. Giving us what they work with. That's the way we need to.
Thank you, Councilor Hardwick.
I would suggest that overview can be provided after you've read the bylaw.
Bylaw number 2025-05, a bylaw respecting proceedings of Council of Sunbury-York South Rural Community. Whereas the Council of Sunbury-York South Rural Community, in accordance with paragraph 10, section 2, subsection A, the Local Governance Act and regulations adopted thereunder, wishes to establish general procedures to be followed during meetings of council and committees of council. Being enacted by the Council of Sunbury-York South Rural Community as follows. 1, title. This bylaw shall be cited as the procedural bylaw. 2, definitions. Act means the Local Governance Act and regulations made thereunder as amended. Administration means the employees of Sunbury-York South Rural Community. Agenda means the agenda for regular, special, or committee of the whole meetings of council prepared pursuant to this bylaw. Assistant clerk means the person appointed to the position of assistant clerk by council under the provisions of the act. Chair or chairperson means the presiding officer of the meeting. Clerk means the position appointed to the position of clerk by council under the provisions of the act. Council means the mayor and councillors duly elected of Sunbury-York South Rural Community. Councillor means a person elected to the office of council other than the mayor. Deputy mayor means member of council who is appointed pursuant to the act to act as mayor in the absence or incapacity of the mayor. Electronic communications shall mean that members of council may attend a council meeting through electronic communications in accordance with this bylaw. This can include using a telephone with use of the speaker or via computer or other means as technology advances. Emergency meeting refers to a meeting other than a regular or special meeting for local state of emergency or public safety matters. Mayor is a person elected to the office or a person who exercises the powers and performs the duties associated with the position on an interim basis. Member or member of council means any person duly elected to council. Notice of motion is the means by which a member of council brings business before council that is not on the agenda. Point of order means a procedure used by a member at a meeting when the rules appear to have been broken. A member may interrupt the speaker during a debate or anything else if the breach of the rules warrants it. Point of privilege means a procedure used when members' rights are infringed. Order must be restored or there's a problem with the physical conditions of the meeting or otherwise. Public hearing means a meeting of council convened to hear matters pursuant to the act or the Community Planning Act and regulations made thereunder as amended. Special meeting means a public meeting of council other than a regular or emergency meeting called pursuant to the act or this bylaw. SYSRC means Sunbury-York South Rural Community. Treasurer means the person appointed to the position of treasurer by council under the provisions of the act. 3, application. A, this procedural bylaw shall apply to 1, all of council, including the mayor, deputy mayor, and members. 2, all members of administration who are required or requested to attend any meeting of council. 3, any members of the public attending or presenting at any meeting of council. B, words importing the masculine gender only include the feminine gender whenever the context so requires and vice versa. C, words importing the singular shall include the plural or vice versa whenever the context so requires. D, this bylaw applies to all meetings of council, committees of the whole, and council committees as identified. E, where council makes this bylaw applicable to a council committee, it shall apply all necessary modifications and 1, any reference to the mayor shall be treated as a reference to the chair of the council committee. 2, any reference to a councillor or a member shall be treated as a reference to a member of the council committee. And 3, any reference to council shall be treated as a reference to the committee. F, to extend that a matter is not dealt with in the act or this bylaw, council shall refer to Robert's Rules of Order. G, the precedence of the rules governing the procedures of council is: 1, the act; 2, the provincial legislation; 3, this bylaw; and 4, Robert's Rules of Order. H, in the absence of statutory obligation, any provisions of this bylaw may be temporarily altered or suspended by a unanimous consent of all members present. A motion to temporarily alter or suspend this bylaw is not debatable or amendable. 4, first meeting of newly elected council. A, the clerk shall fix a date for the first regular meeting of a newly elected council on the day prescribed by the act. A newly elected council shall not transact any business at this first meeting until the oaths of office have been taken and subscribed to by all the members declared and elected and prescribed by the Municipal Elections Act. 5, chair. A, the mayor shall chair all council and committees of the whole meeting. If the mayor is absent or unable to act, or if the mayor's seat is vacant, the deputy mayor shall act in the place of the mayor. And while so acting, he or she possesses the powers and shall perform the duties of the mayor. B, in the absence of the mayor and deputy mayor, the council may, from among the members present, appoint a chair who, during the absence of the mayor and deputy mayor, shall have all the powers of the mayor. 6, deputy mayor. Council of SYSRC shall elect a deputy mayor from amongst its councillors as determined by a majority vote of councillors present cast by open vote. B, such elections will take place at the first official meeting of a new council for a 2-year term and every 2 years thereafter. With all councillors eligible for election, including the current deputy mayor, in the event of a tie vote, the mayor shall make the final decision. C, if the deputy mayor position becomes vacant by way of resignation from office, stepping down from the position, or death, an election for a new deputy mayor shall occur at the next regular council meeting following the event that created the vacancy. The term of the new appointment shall coincide with the term set out in section B above. 7, conflict of interest. A, conflicts of interest are governed under the Act. B, upon taking office, each member shall file with the clerk in the form prescribed by regulation under the Act, a statement disclosing any conflict of interest of which he or she has or should reasonably have knowledge of. C, a member who finds himself or herself in conflict with any business on the agenda of any meeting shall disclose orally the conflict at the meeting and leave the meeting during any discussion or vote by council on the matter. Every oral disclosure made under the Act shall be recorded in the minutes of the meeting by the clerk. D, if a conflict arises while a member is in office, the member shall immediately file a statement disclosing a conflict of interest on the form prescribed in the Act. E, every statement disclosing a conflict of interest filed under the Act shall be recorded and kept in a file by the clerk and available for examination in the office of the clerk during regular office hours in accordance with the Act. 8, quorum. A, majority of members of council constitutes a quorum unless otherwise specified in the Act and this bylaw. B, quorum is required in all council, special council, and committee of the whole meetings. C, when a quorum is present at the time set for the commencement of the meeting, the chair shall call the meeting to order. D, if there is a quorum present at the time set for the commencement of a meeting, but the mayor and deputy mayor are absent, the clerk shall call the meeting to order, to call for a chairperson with the members in attendance to be chosen by resolution. E, if quorum is not constituted within 15 minutes from the time set for the commencement of a meeting, the clerk shall record the names of the members present, shall adjourn the meeting. F, whenever a vote on a motion before council cannot be taken because of a loss of quorum resulting from the declaration of a conflict of interest, then the motion shall be the first order of business to be proceeded with and disposed of at the next meeting of council under the particular order of business. E, If a quorum is lost for any reason other than what is set out in section F above, the meeting is adjourned. 9, meeting through electronic communication. A, members shall be permitted to attend a meeting using electronic communication, subject to the provisions of the Act and this bylaw. If that location is able to support its use and allows members to hear and speak to each other, and in the case of a meeting that is open to the public, allows the public to hear the member. B, a member who intends to participate in a meeting in the manner referred to in this section shall provide sufficient notice to the clerk to ensure that the relevant materials may be sent to the member and to ensure the appropriate electronic means of communication are available, and if applicable, the public notice referred to in this section is given. C, member who participates in a meeting closed to the public in the manner referred to in this section shall, at the beginning of the meeting, confirm that he or she is alone. D, a member who participates in a meeting in the manner referred to in this section shall be deemed to be present at the meeting for whatever period the connection via electronic communications remains active. E, if a council meeting or committee of the whole meeting is open to the public, use of an electronic means of communication is permitted only if a notice of the meeting is given to the public that includes the following information. 1, a statement that an electronic means of communication will be used at the meeting, and 2, the location where the public may see or hear the meeting. 10, regular meetings. A, subject to the Act, council shall hold regular council meetings on the 3rd Tuesday of each month, beginning at 6:30 p.m., unless otherwise determined by council. In the event the Tuesday is a holiday, the meeting shall be held on the following business day of that week. B, if there are changes to the date and time of a regular meeting, SYSRC must give at least 24 hours notice of the change to all members of the public. C, such notice may be made by way of a statement or posting an agenda. D, the clerk shall post a schedule setting out the dates of all regular council meetings to the public on the SYSRC website and social media platforms. E, the agenda shall be prepared and distributed by the clerk in accordance with this bylaw. F, all meetings of the council shall be open to the public, and no member of the public shall be excluded except for closed meetings pursuant to the Act or improper conduct. The chairperson may order the expulsion from any meeting any member of the public who is acting improperly at such meeting. 11, special meetings. A, the mayor may at any time summon a special council meeting. B, upon written petition of 3 members, the clerk shall summon a special council meeting for the purpose mentioned in the petition at a time to be determined by the members. C, in case of the office of mayor or councillor becomes vacant, the clerk may summon a special council meeting for the purpose of declaring such vacancy. D, the clerk shall issue written notice to all special council meetings to all members, which specifies the time of such meeting and the business to be transacted. The clerk shall cause such notices to be provided to council at least 24 hours before the meeting. E, the clerk shall post notice of the special council meeting to the public by posting the agenda on SYSRC website and social media platforms at least 24 hours before the meeting. F, the agenda shall be prepared and distributed by the clerk in accordance with this bylaw. G, council shall only consider business set out on the agenda at the special council meeting unless all members present at the meeting agree to consider any other business. 12, closed meetings. Closed meetings can be scheduled during any regular or special council meeting, provided the subject matter complies with subsection 68(1) of the Act as follows. 1, information of which the confidentiality is protected by law. 2, personal information as defined in the Right to Information and Protection of Privacy Act. 3, information that could cause financial loss or gain to a person or the local government or could jeopardize negotiations leading to an agreement or contract. 4, the proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land. 5, information that could violate the confidentiality of information obtained from the government of Canada or from the government of a province or territory. 6, information concerning legal options or advice provided to the local government by its solicitor or privileged communications between solicitor and client in a matter of local government business. 7, litigation or potential litigation affecting local government or any corporation referred to in its subsection 8.1. Local government's agencies, boards, or commissions, including a matter before an administrative tribunal. 8, the access to or security of buildings and other structures occupied or used by the local government, or access to or security of systems of the local government, including computer or communication systems. 9, information gathered by the police, including the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, in the course of investigating any illegal activity or suspected illegal activity, or the source of that information. 10, labor and employment matters, including the negotiation of collective agreements. D, if a council meeting is closed to the public pursuant to the Act, the clerk shall provide notice to the public by posting the agenda on SYSRC website and social media platforms containing a brief description of the matter under subsection 68.1 of the Act that is to be considered and the date of the meeting. C, the procedure followed at regular council meetings shall be observed during closed meetings so far as they are applicable in accordance with this bylaw and the Act, with the following exceptions. Discussions will not be recorded in the minutes. No vote shall be made in closed session unless it is permitted within the Act. 13, committee of the whole meetings. A, council shall hold committee of the whole meetings on the first Tuesday of each month, beginning at 6:30 p.m. unless otherwise determined by council. In the event Thursday is a holiday, the meeting shall be held on the following business day of that week. B, if there are changes to the date and time of a committee of the whole meeting, SYSRC must give at least 24 hours notice of the change to all members and the public. Such notice may be made by way of statement or by posting an agenda. C, the clerk shall post a schedule setting out the dates of all committee of the whole meetings to the public on the SYSRC website and social media platforms. D, the agenda shall be prepared and distributed by the clerk in accordance with this bylaw. E, the procedure followed at regular council meetings shall be observed during committee of the whole meetings so far as they are applicable, except that 1, no decision of council shall be made at any committee of the whole meeting. 2, the ayes and nays shall not be recorded. And 3, members shall not be limited in the number of times they may speak or any other matter or question. F, business discussed at any committee of the whole meeting shall be forwarded for consideration to a regular council or special council meeting. 14, emergency meetings. A, the mayor or any 3 members, when deemed necessary, may call an emergency meeting of council in which time requirements would not apply. B, when an emergency meeting is called, it shall be considered a special council meeting except for the requirement of advance notice, and only the subject matter of the emergency shall be considered. The clerk shall notify the public when an emergency meeting has been called by posting the information on the SYSRC website and social media platforms as soon as possible. C, all emergency meetings are open to the public and no member of the public shall be excluded except for the improper conduct. D, an emergency meeting may have a closed session in accordance with the Act. 15, point of order and point of privilege. A, any point of order or privilege raised must be considered immediately. B, when a point of order or privilege is raised, the chairperson calls the meeting to order. The member who has the floor shall cease speaking until the chairperson has stated or decided on the point of order. The decision of the chairperson shall be final. D, all discussion on the matter shall cease and no member shall be permitted to bring the subject matter up again during the meeting. 16, agendas. A, the agenda for each council and committee of the whole meeting shall be prepared by the clerk or designate. The agenda shall indicate the date, time, and location of the meeting, as well as the business to be transacted. B, the deadline for receipt of agenda materials for regular council meetings and committee of the whole meetings shall be on the 6th business day prior to the meeting at 2 p.m. on the second Monday of the month. C, the clerk shall send to every member a copy of the agenda, together with copies of all pertinent reports, attachments, and other information by electronic mail no later than 3 business days before the date set for the meeting. D, the clerk or designate shall post the agendas for regular council meetings and committee of the whole meetings on SYSRC website and social media platforms no later than 2 p.m. on Friday prior to the scheduled meeting. E, any additional matter not included on an agenda shall only be considered with the unanimous consent of all members of council present at the meeting. F, any member may request the addition of a matter to the agenda as urgent business after the agenda has been prepared and distributed by the clerk. The clerk shall advise council of any additions to the agenda and distribute the updated agenda as soon as it becomes available. G, the general order of business on the agenda shall be as follows. However, the actual order of conduct may be adjusted by council as necessary. 1, call to order. 2, roll call. 3, adoption of agenda. 4, adoption of minutes of previous meetings. 5, conflict of interest. 6, public input or inquiries. 7, presentations, petitions, or delegations. 8, correspondence. 9, statements by members of council. 10, reports and recommendations from committees. 11, reports and recommendations from administration. 12, bylaws. 13, unfinished business. 14, new business. 15, closed session. 16, date, time, and location of next meeting. 17, adjournment. H, any member of the public wishing to speak during section 6, public input and inquiries on the agenda must register with the clerk prior to 4 p.m. on the day prior to the council meeting. The maximum time for speaking would be no more than 5 minutes and may only be related to subject matters posted on the agenda. Reports from committee and administration shall only be made by committee of the whole meetings. J, recommendations from committees and administration shall be considered at council meetings by resolution. 17, minutes. The clerk or designate shall record the minutes of council and committee of the whole meetings in accordance with the act. D, the minutes shall show 1, the date, time, and location of the meeting. 2, the name or names of the person or persons chairing the meeting. 3, record of attendance, including notation if a member arrives late, leaves before the meeting is adjourned, or is absent or temporarily absent from the meeting. 4, the proceedings free of annotations or comments. C, after passage, a bylaw shall be signed by the chair and by the clerk and shall be impressed with the corporate seal of SYSRC. D, original copies of all minutes shall be kept in an official register by the clerk and be available for examination in the office of the clerk during regular office hours in accordance with the act. E, the clerk shall ensure all minutes are posted on SYSRC websites within 15 days of being approved and adopted by council. 18, presentations, petitions, and delegations. A, the presentations, petitions, and delegations portion of council meeting shall provide an opportunity for individuals to appear as a formal delegation or on their own, make brief presentations to council on matters within the subject matter jurisdiction of council. B, as a guideline, the recommended total time allotment for all matters being heard under section 7, presentation of petitions and delegations at a council meeting is 30 minutes, subject to the discretion of the chair. C, all individuals or groups wishing to address council and be listed on the meeting agenda should register with the clerk at least 7 business days prior to the date of the meeting, providing their name, topic of concern, and indicating whether there has been any previous contact with a member of council or administration regarding the matter. In order to ensure system compatibility and that members receive all required materials in advance of the meeting, any presentations requiring use of audio, video technology must be submitted to the city clerk at least 7 business days prior to the date of the meeting. Otherwise, they will not be accepted for use at the meeting. D, anyone appearing before council to speak during section 7, presentation, petitions, or delegations shall be allowed no more than 10 minutes to speak. If a presentation, petition, or delegation consists of more than 5 people, it may be represented by 2 spokespersons at the most, who are allowed to speak up to 10 minutes each at the discretion of the chair. E, administration or external consultant services providers on behalf of SYSRC may make presentations to council during the presentations portion of a council meeting. Such presentations shall not be limited to any amount of time. Any person, association, organization, or other body who has previously appeared before council on a subject matter is to provide new information only in any subsequent presentations relating to the matter. G, council will not entertain submissions from the public on issues that, 1, may be considered in a closed meeting of council under section 68(1) of the Act. 2, are before the Capital Region Service on planning related matters, the Planning Review and Adjustment Committee track for the courts, or 3, require a statutory public hearing. H, a response to each presenter's comments and concerns may be provided to one or more of the following. 1, immediate response provided directly at the council meeting by either a member of administration if the matter does not require further research. 2, a motion to refer the matter to a committee administration for review and recommendation on a subsequent time, depending on the significance of the issue and the time required to adequately research the matter. 3, direction to staff to add the matter to a future committee of the whole or council meeting for further discussion and or decision.
Out of order.
As we are now out of time, I will ask council if they wish to take a small recess. If there is a great deal of business. I'll also ask for a motion to extend by 30 minutes.
We to extend it, but there's gonna be some, no, recess.
Seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I will, however, exercise my right to take a 5-minute recess at this point in time. Move to something else. I do have to step out just for a second. So we will resume. 9:05. Stretch your legs.
Exciting meetings.
Okay, one that guy with the money.
Yeah.
Matt, there's a way that you
You guys
This time I'll call the meeting back to order, resume bylaw number 2025-05. The council will not entertain submissions from the public on issues that, one, may be considered in a closed meeting of council under section 68(1) of the Act. Two, are before the Capital Region Service Commission on planning related matters, planning review and adjustments committee prac for the courts, or three, require a statutory public hearing. H, a response to each presenter's comments, concerns may be provided through one or more of the following. One, immediate response provided directly at the council meeting by either a member or administration if the matter does not require further research. Two, a motion to refer the matter to a committee or administration for review and recommendation of subsequent time, depending on the significance of the issue and the time required to adequately research the matter. Or three, direction to staff to add the matter to a future committee of the whole or council meeting for further discussion and or decision. 19, public hearings. A, where a public hearing is required for a planning matter under the Community Planning Act, unless otherwise determined by council, the hearing will follow the following procedure. One, the clerk reads the agenda item and advises if objections or other correspondence have been received. Two, representations from the Capital Region Service Commission provide a presentation explaining the application, report, overview of objections and recommendations. Three, the applicant and or developer is then called upon to add any further explanation or information in support of the application. The applicant and or developer may be represented by a third party. Four, members of the public in favor of the application are called forward to speak. Five, members of the public against the application are called forward to speak. Six, the applicant and or developer will be given an opportunity to respond to the proponent's objectors and respond to noted concerns. 7, members may then pose questions to the applicant and or developer, proponents or objectors that shall not enter into a debate. 8, the chair then asks if there is anyone else who wishes to speak to the agenda item. Every person wishing to speak to the item is given an opportunity to do so. 9, when all presentations have been completed, the chair shall declare the public hearing is closed or adjourned. I will remind anyone present to make sure your phones are turned to silent so as not to interrupt the proceedings, please. 10, council debate and decide on the agenda matter during a regular or special council meeting. 20, general rules of council. A, every person wishing to speak during a council meeting shall address their comments through the chair, and no person shall be permitted to speak unless and until the chair has granted that person permission. B, if any member wishes to ask a question of administration during a meeting, any such question shall be directed through the chair, who may call upon the appropriate administration staff to respond. 21, public attendance. A, all regular and special meetings of council are open to the public. B, a member of the public addressing council shall only do so from the podium or designated table, and all comments shall be addressed to council as a whole or to the chair, and not to any single member of administration, or member of the audience. C, a member of the public addressing council shall not engage in any conduct which disrupts the orderly conduct of any council meeting. D, no person in the audience at any meeting of council shall engage in conduct that disrupts the orderly conduct of any meeting, including but not limited to the utterance of loud, threatening, or abusive language, whistling, clapping, stamping of feet, repeated waving of arms, or other disruptive acts. E, if a person present at a council meeting is engaging in disrespectful or improper conduct, the chairperson may have that person expelled. 22, petitions. A, petitions will be submitted to the clerk, and on receipt of a petition, the clerk will include it as an item on the agenda for the next regular meeting of council. B, council will review and consider the petition and determine the following course of action. 1, refer it to administration for a report to council. 2, refer to administration for action and or reply, with a copy of administration's response being sent to council. 3, refer to the mayor for direct reply, with a copy of the mayor's response being sent to council. Or 4, acknowledge receipt of information purposes with no further action occurring. 23, committees of council. A, council may establish or abolish committees of council to study issues and or make recommendations to council. Council shall appoint council representatives to such committees as they deem necessary. B, each committee of council should have at least 1 member, but no more than 3 members on the committee. C, council may appoint such committees of council members who are qualified voters of the local government. D, the mayor shall appoint a member to chair each committee of council. E, the chair of each committee shall summon members for meetings. F, the chair shall keep council informed of the actions of committees by providing regular updates through committee reports and statements. G, ad hoc committees may be added for special purposes that are not intended to be permanent. H, a staff member of administration may be appointed to provide guidance to any committee of council, but they shall not have any voting privileges. I, committee meetings may be open to the public. It shall be the decision of the chair to determine if the committee meeting will be open to the public. 24, repeal and effective date. A, bylaw number 1, enacted on the 14th day of December 2022. Bylaw number 1-23, enacted on the 18th day of April 2023. Bylaw number 1-24A, enacted on the 6th day of August 2024. And bylaw number 1-25, enacted on the 17th day of June 2025, are hereby repealed. This bylaw shall come into force in effect upon receiving the 3rd reading and being signed. Are there any questions or discussion or debate from council on this motion? Councilor Shepherd.
Yeah, just for clarification, Mr. Mayor, under conflict of interest, and maybe this goes back to they're done in order. When we talk about conflict of interest, B, you can do a written one, but then C, it said the member should declare at each meeting, if I'm reading that correctly. So if you've done a written one in B, does that mean you don't have to declare in C because, or sorry, at a meeting? Because it sounds like you have to be both. You have a written one and you have an oral disclosure of conflict at each meeting.
I will defer this to the governance committee.
Through you, Mayor, to Councilor Shepherd, the way it goes, if you know you have a conflict of interest at the beginning of you going into office, you would state your form. Once you know you have your conflict of interest on that matter, every time it's brought up at a council meeting, you would indicate orally that you have a conflict of interest on the matter. So you do not have to submit another form. You're just stating orally that you have a conflict on the matter.
It is, it's just I didn't do that and I haven't been doing that, so I don't know what the rules are on that.
But as it stands today, you're still compliant with everything up until this is.
So once this is passed,
Through you, Councilor Shepherd, that was my fault, Councilor Shepherd, because I checked with local governance and or local government, and they told me that all you had to do was declare your form and declare once, and then it goes in the minutes after that when the thing is out that.
right, but now we can be a bylaw.
But further to that, his situation has not changed until this is done for the 3rd time.
Right, exactly.
So, Councilor Herbert.
Through you, Mayor, to the wording was, I shall say, use the word cleaned up to remain open and transparent on any member who may have a conflict of interest. So it is open and transparent to other members as well as to the public as to that situation.
Councillor Allen?
3 points actually. I think Council Hardwick is already dealing with these, but section 16B. On the second Monday of the month needs to be scratched from that. The end of the sentence removed. That's number one. Item number 2.
18C.
Yeah, it's 18C, the city clerk, city should be taken and removed. And, sorry? 13.
Before you go on to your next item, you want the removal of city clerk, or do you want to add municipal clerk?
I would leave that up to the governance committee to decide the wording and get, 13A, Thursday should be Tuesday.
13A?
Yeah.
Yeah. Says Tuesday, but then it says.
Councillor Hardwick, do you want to speak to that before we get any amendments to that?
Yes, it should state clerk, as if the role is defined as clerk in the definitions.
Okay. And on 13A, did you wish this to reflect the Tuesday or the Thursday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
That is a typographical error. It should say Tuesday.
It's the Tuesday of holiday. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Hardwick. Councillor Hardwick?
Through you, Mayor, if Councillor Standish would like a Coles Notes version of the improvements to the bylaw, I will ask you to ask him if he would. So the original bylaw was amended twice. It permitted a lot of roles, responsibilities, and powers to the position of the chief administrative officer, which are not normal in local government. So this bylaw removes those roles and responsibility from the chief administrative officer position and puts them back where they should be with council. One of the, you may have picked up when we were reading, when Mayor Hayward was reading the bylaw, was a change of date for the committee of full meetings to the first Tuesday of the month, which right now is the second Thursday of the month. And the time of the council meeting as well to be commenced at 6:30 p.m. as opposed to 7 p.m., as well as removing the requirement of a time limit of the meeting. I'll say that I did originally have a time limit of 10 p.m. and upon discussion with Councillor Noble and interim clerk Morale did suggest that we have no time limit on the meeting so that we can eliminate having to pass multiple resolutions to extend the time limit. Another major change was allowing is under, I'm just going to scroll up to it. It's easier when we get to it. Under agenda is under G, item G on page 9. There's been a new section added, public input and inquiries. And as set out in the bylaw, the public will have until, so if the meeting's on the Tuesday, the public will have until 4 p.m. on the Monday to register with the clerk to talk about any item on the agenda. It is restricted to any item on the agenda, not any item they would like to discuss, just any item on the agenda, and they will be permitted no more than 5 minutes. Now, currently, there is no limit to the number of public. The bylaw doesn't state a limited number of public who may wish to speak on that at that time. If that's a wish of council to put a restriction as to the number of residents, I personally myself would not like to restrict the number of residents or individuals who would like to speak. I would like to see how it goes and if we have, the need in the future to amend that. Another section that is new is statements by members of council. I myself have found that it has been very difficult, no opportunity to make any statement, personal statements as to what is happening in the community and what I have done for around the community. So that gives an opportunity for all members to make those statements. Example, I participated in the Rutherford TV rally and or say it's coming up this weekend. That would be a simple example or something like that. Or there's a craft or bake sale at the local church. But it just gives members the opportunity to get the word out as to what's happening in our community. Reports and recommendations from committee and reports and recommendations from administration. I do not believe we had those in our existing agenda, and that will just basically have a slot for committees to provide any reports forward and administration to provide any reports forward. I did notice that paragraph I says reports from committee and administration shall only be read during committee of the whole meetings. I'm thinking about that personally, we may not want to restrict it to just only committee of the whole meetings, but and possibly remove that whole paragraph I.
I agree with removing that.
Yeah.
In council sessions.
Yeah, and the concept of having the meetings moved from Tuesday to Tuesday, the first Tuesday for committee, the second Tuesday for council was to allow staff more time and council more time between meetings to get organized and to bring forward items on the agenda for staff to prepare the agenda and not be overwhelmed with having meetings on a Thursday, then a meeting on a Tuesday, and the deadline to put anything on the council meeting has already passed by the time the committee meeting is over. So that helps eliminate that problem right now. If Council Noble, maybe through you, Mayor, if Council Noble has anything to add to it.
There was also the extension from 3 to 5 minutes for the public speaking. Would you have into that?
No, she's done things in her heart with an amazing job on this. I know.
Mayor, through you, Council Bartlett. Thank you very much. That was an awesome, very excellent overview. I think it was very helpful. And thank you for the work on this. I think it was very good. There's a couple of things I'd like to just talk about. Under definitions, talks about electronic communications. I kind of think we should take out the line that says members that council may attend a council meeting through that. I think that is touched on later in the document. I would suggest just wording that electronic communication shall mean communications that include, just, I think that then we're getting into like, I don't know, like, under quorum, I just want to confirm it. I think I'm the number, I want to make sure I understand this correctly. So it says the majority of members of council plus 2 quorum. So just to confirm, that's members that are active. So we will never not, as long as we have one active member, we can be able to have quorum. I guess not a majority of positions. You want to respond to that?
Yes, through you, Mayor, would be in accordance with the act. The act is silent as to if it's current members or the complement of council. So to me, I take that as current members. Would be my interpretation of that. Current members.
Thank you. Very cool. Yes, I wonder. On 9, paragraph 9 meetings, so it's communication for Charlie. It says at the beginning of the meeting, a member will confirm that they're rolling. Do we want that at the beginning of the meeting or the beginning of the closed session? Like that.
All of the closed sessions, how that should be.
And just again to confirm, I understand this correctly, under 18 presentations delta. When you're talking about how you can have two people in the same delegation talking, and you say that each of them are allowed to speak at 10 minutes of concern, that means a delegation is 1 minute. None. That is what. That's social. I think that was everything. Thank you.
Councillor Hurd.
I guess, Mayor, through you, I just wanted to, I forgot to further expand on that. This bylaw defines a council committee separate from committee of the whole. The existing bylaw was very difficult to interpret between committee of the whole and a committee of council. So this bylaw really helps clean up that role of a committee of council as let's, for instance, your committee and the policy and governance committee and finance and audit committee. It states those would fall under committees of council, and committee of the whole is us on the first Tuesday of the month.
Any other discussion on this document? Councillor Hurd.
Sorry, I just wanted to expand on that date change. If the date changes to the first Tuesday of the month, that the earliest this bylaw will be passed will be July 15th. So the first committee of the whole meeting would happen on August the 5th.
If we're maintaining the first Tuesday of the month, that will conflict with the Temporary Service Commission monthly board meeting.
Okay. So maybe we can talk about what other day would work best for you then.
Councillor Trevor?
Could we just do Thursday, but the first Thursday instead of the second Thursday? That still gives you, should be lost.
If there's no locked in, it could be my schedule at this point in time for that first Thursday of the.
The mayor, just to that point, if we do something like that, just putting it, suggesting this, we consider instead of saying first Thursday to avoid this kind of
Right.
sponging amount, lock it to what it would be. It would be the second Thursday before the council meeting.
That's what we haven't done.
Well, now it's the second Thursday of the month, right? So sometimes we have an extra week in there.
Yes.
So if we said it was this, just to make it very simple, because it's hard doing math backwards, but I think it'd be the second Thursday of the month before, or whatever it would be, something like that, just the.
It could be the second
Relative to
Thursday.
the council meeting as opposed to. Whatever.
Well, that's what we have.
Yeah.
So what he's trying to say is like two Thursdays before.
Yeah,
Like,
that's, I think that would be, yeah. Just so we don't, sometimes right now we have an extra week, so that we have like, it's 3 days.
Councillor Hardwick?
Through you, Mayor, to change it back to a Thursday, then we would have to look at revisiting the deadlines, just so that there's a time frame and all that, so possibly maybe is the first Monday of the month feasible?
A lot of holidays.
Yeah, I understand that, yeah. I'm just thinking of enough time between the meetings, so maybe that's a discussion that myself and Councillor Noble and staff and Eve.
You can take that back to the committee and work it out. That would be the simplest way.
And I think it's a good.
At this time, pardon me, Councillor Standish, at this time, I need another motion to extend the meeting by another 30 minutes. Councillor Hardwick. Seconded by Councillor Noble. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
I
Opposed? Motion carried. For Councillor Standish, you have the floor.
No, I'm just saying, if you consider that, then I think that would guarantee, because then even if it is the Thursday, at least it's a week and a half as opposed to, whatever it is, that's all I have.
Okay, Councillor Trevor?
And just to confirm, on July, we're still gonna be the second Thursday.
Yes.
Yes. This document won't change anything for the next month. After that, it may.
Somebody's pocket. Favorite color was
What's the?
Is it?
Up and down the tree like it's somebody.
That's today, something. Oh, button.
I don't hear much.
Any further discussion on this item?
White trucks.
That's
Everybody.
First?
Any further discussion, Councilor Carter?
Just for correction on page 10, paragraph 17C, after passage, it should say, I believe it should say the minutes should be signed by the chair and the clerk, not a bylaw.
Great catch. Councilor Shannon, actually, this was, I think, the same report, see deputy mayor and administrations. He's a member. Well, from the last bylaw, under.
Okay.
Listen, he just needs to. Additional.
Excellent. Any further discussion on this bylaw? I will remind all council, this is a significant piece of our operating process, so. There's nothing further. There is no further debate or discussion. I'll call for the vote. And we will do them individually.
Councilor Noble.
Yes.
Councilor Shepherd.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Delon.
Yeah.
Councilor Standish.
Yes.
Councilor Hardwick.
Yes.
Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes. Motion carried. Next item on the agenda. The second reading of bylaw number 2025-5. Everyone wish to have a read in its entirety again? That'll be done by reading the title only. Bylaw number 25-05, and bylaw respecting the proceedings of council of Sunbury-York South Rural Community. Can I have a motion from a member of council? So Councillor Allen, seconded by Councillor Hardwick. We'll go through the voting process again.
Councilor Noble.
Yes.
Councilor Shepherd.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Delon.
Yes.
Councilor Standish.
Yes.
Councilor Hardwick.
Yes.
Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Mayor Hayward.
Yes. Item H,